Hey guys, welcome back to Freestyle Unlimited. After last week's video, I had the chance to talk to one of my subscribers. If you guys haven't seen last week's video, it was what to look for when buying a stand-up jet ski, or honestly a lot of it kind of translates to jet skis in general. But I had a conversation with one of my subscribers, and he had mentioned to me that he was looking to get into skis. He's actually got a ski that he is thinking about modifying or trying to figure out what to go into, but he has not had a very good resource for what to look for in terms of what skis specifically to look for. There's a lot of skis out there, and for a beginner it can be very intimidating because obviously if it's a new hobby, you don't want to be spending too much money or getting too much wrapped up into a ski that might not be worth it. So today's video, I'm going to kind of go over the different disciplines of skis, what they're used for, kind of what you might want to consider when you're getting into skis, because some of them will do better at one thing but won't be able to do another. So kind of going into it so that I can inform you guys a little bit better, especially for those of you that are new to the ski world, what to look for, kind of budget-wise, how things will work out in terms of getting into skis if you're trying to get in on a budget or you're just trying to jump full force into it. The different disciplines will have kind of a different price point, so we're going to go over that as well. But let's just go ahead and get into it, and we'll start talking about what skis you should look at if you are looking to get into jet skis. So if you guys are watching this video, you've either stumbled across it watching the videos on my channel, maybe you're one of our subscribers that watches all of the videos just because you like jet skis, maybe you're doing some research trying to pick up your first jet ski, or you've had jet skis before, you've sold them and you're trying to get back into them. I'm kind of going over mostly for stand-up jet skis, but I would like to make this video to kind of inform you guys based on a subscriber request, to go over and kind of give a little bit more information on what jet skis are good for what. So we'll go over disciplines first, because you'll have to decide sort of what direction you want to go in terms of riding style or the kind of experience you want to get with the jet skis before you buy one, because some of them will do good at one thing and not so well at another. So we're going to kind of go over the different disciplines, and then I will go over kind of the different models of skis, different price points depending on budget, kind of what will work best for you, and give you guys some information, or at least some basis knowledge, so that you guys can make an educated decision on what to get for your first jet ski. So let's get right into it. We're going to go over the main disciplines. So for the most part, I would say this falls into 5 or 6 categories. A lot of it is just going to be recreational riding. So that's going to be going to the lake, cruising around, maybe hitting the sandbar, riding the rivers with your friends. A lot of that I would consider to fall into recreational riding. So that's going to be kind of our first class. It's going to be kind of just your basic level, entry level sort of jet ski. Those are going to be like your JS 300s, 440s, 550s, maybe the 550 SX, and then you start getting into super jets, 750s, and the older SXRs. Those are really good for your kind of recreational riding. I would say one step above that, so our discipline 2, you're going to be looking at free riding. So that's going to be a little more playful. You're going to be doing more jumping. Maybe you're hitting some boat wakes. Maybe you're just kind of racing around, carving. Those skis are going to be very similar to your rec skis. Your rec skis are going to be able to do that a lot of times. To get into the free ride stuff, you're going to start adding sponsons. You're going to add rear sponsons, front sponsons. You're going to add your ride plate. You're going to add your pipe, maybe a little bit more power. So kind of building a ski that's a little more playful. Again, the free ride you can pretty much do with any ski, but it's going to be kind of more performance-based modifications and that sort of thing that you're going to be going into. So you'll be taking a stock ski maybe and tuning it up, getting a little more power, making it a little more playful, so you can jump bigger waves, or just have a little bit more fun, maybe more low end. Maybe you're doing some pump work. That's kind of what I would classify into like free ride. Then I would say you've got your kind of, it splits off from there into a lot of different categories, and I'm going to go over them, and then we'll kind of go into each one and talk about what you do in each one, and kind of the ski requirements for each one, and then we'll kind of go over the different skis that'll work well for all of those different classes. So we're going to go into, I would say, surf. We're going to go into racing or buoys. A lot of this is, like I said, geared towards stand-ups. So buoy racing, surf, freestyle, and I think that's probably, for the most part, the majority of the disciplines you'll see. Those are the three distinct ones, at least. Inside of freestyle, you'll have a couple different ways to look at it. Some of the old school freestyle is going to be kind of, you can use any ski, and it's tricks and utilizing your body placement and weight distribution to do unconventional tricks on the jet skis. But a lot of the more modern freestyle has moved into backflips, barrel rolls, linking combos, jumping out of the water, 1 foot backflips, no hands, that sort of thing is kind of what freestyle has evolved into. So that'll be probably, in my opinion, probably one of the more top tier ones. I'd say it's probably up there or just above racing, like buoy racing or course racing. A lot of those skis you're going to see are going to be higher power, a lot faster. But I'm going to start off with kind of going over surf. What is going to be required from a ski for surf. They're built very specifically for surf a lot of times. But I think the most common ski for surf, aside from all of our aftermarket companies and holes like Richter and Rise and Tigercraft, and I don't think anybody really rides the revolvers out in surf, but all of these companies that build aftermarket skis, they usually have a surf line of skis that are more geared towards surf. Usually the holes are a little bit stronger. They're going to be a fiberglass construction, or even a composite carbon fiber mixed with fiberglass construction to give a little bit more rigidity, but also maintaining strength, because a lot of the carbon stuff can crack and break a little easier, because when you're hitting surf, you're hitting waves and you can go 15, 20 feet in the air sometimes. So it's a lot harder landing on skis. You don't always want to land flat. Sometimes you want to nosedive it and kind of dive into the water to keep from damaging stuff. But if you're getting into kind of a cheaper end, I'm going to try and consider most of this stuff for surf and racing to be less of the aftermarket holes, because those are usually things that you'll get into once you're kind of deeper into skis, I would say. So starting off with surf, you'll see a lot of super jets, maybe not specifically the square nose. There are a lot of people that ride square noses out there, but the majority of the people, at least that I've seen in the Pacific Northwest, and kind of what you see online, is a lot of later model round nose super jets. They're a very versatile ski. They're great for freeride. They're great for surf. You can do like kind of lower level freestyle on them, like maybe spins and stuff if you've got more power in them or upgraded them a lot. But a lot of people use them for racing and surf. They're a great all-around ski. A lot of aftermarket support for them. So if you're looking to kind of move towards surf and maybe you're on a budget, but you probably want to spend a little bit more money and get into a good hole. So I'd highly recommend your round nose super jets. So for that'll be a good entry level for that, or a square nose super jet. These are also a great option, but just not quite as sought after for some reason. I personally like my square nose more than most of the round noses I've ridden, so it really comes down to personal preference. But moving into kind of our race scene, a lot of the racing, you're going to see higher displacement motors. So they will have vintage races where you'll have your 550s and your 440s, and they might even have a class for 300s. But a lot of like the higher level racing you'll see will be SXR based. They've got the new Superjets. They'll actually take the motor, which I believe is the 15F, out of the SXR, and that's what a lot of the aftermarket holes like the Commander or the Pro Watercraft Pro Force, a lot of those aftermarket skis are based on. They'll use the 15F motor, they'll swap everything over, drivetrain, maybe some upgrades, tune the ECU, and now you've got a ski that is probably about the length of the Superjet, maybe just a tad longer, but at least a foot shorter than the SXR, and you're doing speeds of 60 to 70 miles an hour easily. So they're really crazy. I'll probably throw up a video like up here of me riding a friend of mine's Commander. She has raced all over the place. She races all over the Pacific Northwest. She's done the women's class down in Havasu. She's a great person. She's got this coolest ski, but her and her husband are awesome. I think he races an SXR. She races the Commander. But I'll throw that video up here so you guys can kind of see what it's like being on one of those skis and kind of what they look like when you're riding. Getting into an SXR, you're probably looking at, I don't know, anywhere between 8,000 and 11,000, depending on your market and kind of where you live. But a used SXR will be around probably 8 to 11 grand, depending on the year. For the round nose Superjet, for surf stuff, you're probably looking at. I'll just go over all the skis at the end. We'll kind of go over price points on them, but yeah. So moving on to our Freestyle stuff. Actually, still looking at race, you'll also see like Cowie 750s. You'll see the SXR 800s, kind of the older SXRs before they did the 1500. And people will drop 1100 swaps in them. The 1100 triple swap is another powerful motor that a lot of people will run for racing. Kind of just depends on what class you're in, what hole you're riding. A lot of it is up to rider preference, and when you get to that level, a lot of it is to whatever class you're going to race in. So a lot of stuff to consider. This is a more high-level thing, but we'll get back to the beginner stuff in just a minute. I just want to kind of give you guys the whole view of the range, and then we'll go back to how to get into what you're looking at. And then, so after racing, you're going to have your Freestyle skis. Pretty much all of these skis are going to be aftermarket if you're getting into like Freestyle specifically. You're looking at Richter, you're looking at Rise, you're looking at Tigercraft, you're looking at Lee Stone, the Revolver. You'll be looking at, there's a ton of other companies. Water Dogs Customs isn't around so much anymore, but you can still find their skis around. I think Jeff actually still makes skis per request. If you're working with him, he's on kind of a case-by-case basis, to my understanding. But there's a ton of other, there's like Ariel, there's EME, there is also a few other companies based out of Japan. Bun. I haven't actually seen very many of their skis stateside, but their motor is a big following in the States for Freestyle. For their like pro class, they would have a 1200cc Bun motor. It's considered to be like one of the top of the line motors in the industry. But overall, a great motor, great company. From what I've seen, they're really high quality. I've never personally ridden one, but there's a lot of aftermarket holes. They're all going to be designed similar in ways, but different in others, and they're all going to ride different. So if you are looking to get into Freestyle, I highly recommend trying to find some friends, maybe some people in the community that'll let you try their ski out before you go and spend, $15, $20, $25, $30,000 on a Freestyle ski. So definitely look into that. But like I said, that's going to be on the high-end stuff. You're really probably not going to jump straight into a Freestyle ski if you're just getting into stand-ups, because it is very difficult, it is very expensive, and those skis are not very forgiving. They're not learner friendly. They're harder to ride, they're harder to balance on, they're not easy to learn on, I would say, in general. But going back to kind of our starter skis, we'll go through the whole range of skis, at least what I would consider to be your kind of more mainstream skis that you'll see on Marketplace, Craigslist, and maybe you'll see them sitting around at a neighbor's house or at the lake. Just the more common stuff, and then maybe we'll throw in a few extra oddities, I would call them. But starting off, if you're looking to get into a stand-up ski, like I said, you're probably looking to get into it on a budget, especially if you're looking at vintage skis. If you're not trying to ball out and go straight into something 4-stroke, ready to ride, hit the lake every day. They're great skis, but they also have their downsides. We'll get into it as we get to those skis, but likely you're on a budget, you're looking to get into something cheap, try the sport out and see if it's even something you enjoy. And probably 90% of the skis you're going to see are going to be your JS hull or SX hull, either the JS 300, JS 440, JS 550, or the 550 SX. I would kind of consider the JS platform to be your baseline kind of entry ski. I'd say 90% of the people getting into jet skis, it's probably been their first ski. And they'll keep it or they'll move on to something else. Some people are really big Cowie followers. Some people like switching over to Yamaha, and then some people just go all the way up the ladder like me, and we go racing, we go freestyle, and you kind of try out all the disciplines. But I've definitely moved towards freestyle. But that'll be kind of your entry ski, the 300, the 440, or the 550, and the JS hull. I would say the 550 SX. It is more sought after because it is a reed motor, so a more powerful motor. Instead of having just the piston port for timing and power band, it actually runs reed valves, flows better, runs better, makes more power, all around more sought after ski. That's going to be your 91 and up are going to have the reed motors. The 90 will be the SX hull. It'll have the rear exhaust, but it will not have the reed motor. It'll still be a piston port motor. So I'd say your beginner skis, 300, 440, 550 JS platform. Those, depending on where you're located, you can find them anywhere from a couple $100 up to probably, I'd say, $2,000 in general. For cleaner ones, maybe like a minty clean one like this, maybe more than 2,000. But that'll be kind of your entry point. A lot of people will be looking for them cheap on Marketplace, a couple $100, fix it up, maybe rebuild the motor. But that's a great way to get into it, kind of get a feel for it, get a little taste for the ski industry. I would say after that, you're looking at your 550 piston, your 550 reed motor, your 550 SX. That's going to be probably in that anywhere, I would say, between $1,000 and $3,000, depending on what all's done to it. Some of the stuff that's like high comp heads and more aftermarket work, maybe some riding modifications, you're definitely looking at a little bit more money. And then that ski is going to be good for recreational riding, and I'd say probably free riding. I don't know that I would really use it much past that. Some people take them and they'll use them in surf, but the way the hood is designed and the way everything kind of seats together, the hood shifts easily from hard hits on the side, so you can sink them really easily. I pretty much would consider the 550 and JS SX platform to be more of a free ride, rec ride ski. Like I said, they do have vintage races for them, but they're not as common as like the higher end racing. But people still do them. I mean, a lot of people race them, don't get me wrong. But I think if you're just getting into it, it's a great rec free ride ski. I'd say after that, I'd probably throw in our Kawasaki 650. It is going to be also one of your more affordable skis. You're probably looking at somewhere in the 1,000 to 2,000 range is kind of what I've seen them in Washington. Obviously, this is going to be different if you're somewhere else in the U.S. or entirely different if you're somewhere else in the world. But the 650 is going to be another one. A little more power than your 550, but a completely different hull design. They're a little bit shorter. The front end's a little bit more rockered, so they're a little bit more playful, but not as, at least in my experiences riding them, not as easy, I'd say. These are a little bit more stable. The 650 is a little more squirrely because I think it's a little bit shorter. And with that rockered nose, it handles a little differently. I found that they porpoise, but that is, and when I say porpoise, I mean when you're going at speed, the front end will kind of like bounce up and down while you're riding. It'll kind of come up and come down while you're riding. I'm not a big fan of it. Maybe you can alleviate it with body placement, kind of rider skill. I'm just not used to riding them and don't really enjoy them that much. Moving on from your 650, we'll go right up to our Cowie 750s. I'd probably put the 750 and the square nose kind of in the same boat. You're looking at a Kawasaki 750, bigger, a little bit heavier than your 650 and your 550, but also going to carry that power coming from the 750 motor to move all that weight. So they are faster. They're definitely more stable than your 550. Your 550 even will be a little bit squirrely. And when I say 550, I mean like that whole JS SX platform. I'm just going to call it a 550 because that's most commonly probably what you'll see. But the 750 is going to be bigger. It's going to be faster. It's going to be more powerful. You'll be able to kind of jump out of the water. It's got sleeker body lines. It's a little more modern. Personally, they're a little too heavy for me. But I kind of put them right up there. This is where we start to enter. Yamaha didn't really have a smaller motor for their Superjet. They started off, the square nose had a 650 motor in it. The early models did. This one's already been swapped, so this is a 701 that's been bored out. But your 650 Superjet is going to be a great all-around ski. I personally would kind of let it fall under a recreational ski, a freeride ski, and then also kind of opens the door into being able to ride surf. You have to set it up right for surf because you can still run into issues. But the square nose Superjet, a great option all around. It's kind of that you start opening up the doors to higher end discipline racing, I'd say. So great option. You'd be looking at the 750s are anywhere between, I'd say $2,000 and $3,000. The Kawasaki's, that is. I've seen them anywhere from $1,700 up to like $3,500, kind of depending on season, depending on the ski itself, how clean it is. The Superjets, I mean, these are all over the place. You can find them anywhere from, I've seen them as low as like $800 all the way up to, I think there's a few that have been listed online for like 6, 7, 8, 9 grand. So it really depends what's done to them. The Yamaha platform is very interchangeable. A lot of aftermarket support. I mean, the 701 motor and the 650 motor have so much aftermarket support. A lot of even the Freestyle skis and like aftermarket cylinders and aftermarket parts are modeled for the Yamaha base motors. The 61X, 62T motors, and then you go up from there. But they're a great platform. Highly recommend a Superjet. For a first ski, I think it's a little more expensive. It's a little more out of people's price range for a starter ski. But if you feel that you're getting into jet skis because maybe you've ridden a friend's before and you know it's something that you enjoy, I would definitely recommend spending a little bit more money getting into a Superjet. They're going to ride different from 550s, and I know I'm going to get people that are going to come back and say, oh, I really like my 550 more than Superjets. That's just my personal preference, and you know, like I said, you guys should really ride these before you pick one, if you have the opportunity to. But that's kind of where that falls. Above that, I'd probably put our round nose Superjet. That opens the door even more. A lot of racing, surf, free ride, rec ride. You've kind of got now 4 classes in one single ski. It's hard to set it up for all of the classes, but it really gives you the opportunity to test out kind of which direction you want to go. I think if jet skiing is something you've gotten into and you're really trying to decide what the next step is for you, and maybe you're coming from a square nose Superjet or a 550 platform or even a 650 or 750, the round nose Superjet is something that you could get if you're like, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to try it out. You can get them, you can set them up for racing, you get rear sponsons, you get the intake grate, the ride plate, all the grip setup stuff so that you can take it out, you can hit buoys, you can test it out, see if that's what you like. Maybe that's not your cup of tea, maybe you don't like going fast as much and you just want to get hang time in the air. You can change it up, you can set it up for surf, different, you know, you'll get a pole limiting strap, you'll throw a different ride plate on, maybe get a dual bilge setup to get all the water out that you're going to consume diving underwater and submerging the ski. So those are all things you can do in the Superjet, and they're super rideable, super friendly for even new riders. So highly recommend the the round nose Superjet. That was kind of, like I said, it's a very versatile ski, and it comes with a very versatile price point. The round nose, because they are so sought after, because they are so versatile, you're going to see a slightly higher price than the square nose Superjets. Oftentimes, like I said, this is going to be in Washington State, but oftentimes your round nose Superjets, depending on the year and the model, and kind of there are slight differences in them. But the earlier models, or like more stock examples, you'll see range from anywhere around like 4,500 to $5,000. You might find a deal on one lower, maybe like 3,800. I think one popped up on Marketplace the other day for like $3,000. So you can find them for that much, but you'll see them also go all the way up. Some people, I think there's one on Marketplace right now, 760 swapped full MSD. The whole thing's been gone through and built, dry pipe, and the guy's got it listed for like $9,000. So you're looking at this big range, but usually they'll fall into that kind of I'd say $3,500 to $5,500 range for a decent one. And then above that, we're gonna go with our new Superjet, new SXR. Those are gonna be in kind of their own category. I think that because the 4-stroke motors make so much power, they've kind of naturally gravitated towards a racing scene. They are good for kind of recreational riding as well. They're comfortable. You can throw brand new people on them. I've done it. People who have never ridden a stand-up, throw them on the SXR. They can ride it, but you have to be very respectable to the machine because they are fast. They're very powerful. You can't hurt yourself. But like I said, they've kind of gravitated towards the racing scene because they are heavier, they are more stable, they are far more powerful than a lot of the 2-stroke stuff you'll find. I think the SXR 1500 makes about 150 horsepower and puts out almost 1,000 foot-pounds of thrust out of the jet nozzle. So like, you have to respect these machines. They're very capable, but you can hurt yourself. So the Superjet and the SXR, like I said, I put those kind of more into racing, recreational class. You can do free ride. The SXR is very heavy. It's about 550 pounds. I want to say the new Superjet is a little bit lighter, but just with the 4-stroke, with all of that goes into that, they do require a larger size and a higher weight. Like, you're probably 2 feet longer than a lot of your like Superjets or 550s, so you are moving a lot more weight. They are a little bit more sluggish, heavier. When you're steering, especially the SXR, you really kind of have to commit to it. You have to kind of manhandle it in a way. But they're great overall skis. I mean, for racing, you can hit a corner, get back on throttle, and you're back up at speed so quickly. It's crazy. I can throw another video up here and just show you guys a little flyby of me on the SXR. It's fast. I think I've clocked it at 63 miles an hour, which is just insane when you're on a jet ski on the water. It's unreal. But those are going to fall into a heftier price point just because of how new they are. I think the SXR came out in like 2016, 2017. This one's a 2018. I'll have to fact check that, but the new 4-stroke Superjets and SXRs, you're looking at probably more of a price point around, I'd say between 7,000 and like 12,000. There's kind of a good price point. I think you can get a brand new one from the dealer for about 12 to 15 grand. But you can find them secondhand market, maybe a year or two old for, just over 10, maybe 11. And then this one is a little bit older. It's a handful of years old. But still the same machine, still the same motor. Maybe they might have done minor upgrades, but really it's pretty much the same thing through and through, different decals and graphics throughout the years. But yeah, these are going to fall into a higher price point. You're probably shopping right around that $10,000 range. I've seen these posted as low as 6,000, but I mean, that's a crazy deal for an SXR. All the way up to, $15,000, $18,000 for fully built race-ready skis, maybe like tuned ECU, full exhaust, full intake, full everything. So really, these are kind of all over the place, and you start getting into that really expensive jet ski game. So that's kind of where racing goes, and then you can look at aftermarket holes utilizing that motor, like I said, the Commander and stuff, and you're looking at $20,000 to $30,000 for a ski to be done. And you're gonna have to like buy an SXR essentially. So a lot of times you'll send an SXR in as a part ski. They'll rip it down. If you're having them build it themselves, they'll rip it down. They'll swap everything into the ski, and they'll ship you back all the spare parts and the whole with your new ski. So kind of a cool process if you guys are really getting into racing. I've had great luck with Commander. I love their stuff. I really, really enjoy how their ski rides. Super cool. But moving on from that, we're gonna talk about freestyle skis now, which is kind of like what I really enjoy. We'll start off kind of saying freestyle skis are very expensive, and it's likely not something you're gonna get into as a beginner. But if you do, great. Be very careful. Don't sink your ski, because you probably will. You're looking at holes alone, no drivetrain, no motor, no ride plate, no handle pole. You're looking at spending for like a full carbon hole, which is what you're looking at for flat water freestyle. You're probably looking at spending about $10,000, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Brand new, you're shopping between 10 and 15 grand, most likely. And then you add in $1,000 for handle pole, $1,000 for steering and cables, and then you're looking at maybe you want a 1200cc motor. You're looking at anywhere between 10 and 20 grand. I mean, really 20 grand may be a little bit of a reach, but if you're at a pro level, some of those motors are 20 grand. Yeah, $25,000. But you know, not even to account for you're probably maybe $1,000 probably at least into your e-box. You need gas tank, couple $100, full exhaust. A lot of times your pipe setups, your lay down pipes, those are going to be anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000. Batteries, you know, if you're getting a nice anti-gravity battery or a lithium battery, you're probably looking at a few $100s for that. Ride plate, you know, probably a couple $100. Your pump, another couple $1,000. Props, probably $1,000. Drive shaft, all your bearings. I mean, it adds up like crazy quick. So next thing you know, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get into a budget build for a freestyle ski, and then you try and do it right, and you try and use the right parts. The next thing you know, you're $20,000 to $30,000 into a ski. So it snowballs really quickly. But a lot of the manufacturers out there are very supportive of their riders and the people that use their skis. Like specifically, I've had great luck with Lee Stone. He's been nothing but help to me. He's been really kind. I've talked to him on the phone a handful of times. I would 100% do business with him again. He's a great jet ski rider. Outside of Lee, we've got Tigercraft is another great one. I do want to buy one of their skis to build. I want to build a Paragon. But once we kind of recover from the last freestyle build that I just did, I will probably start looking at doing a JSN motor in a Paragon to start doing competition. But we'll see. Maybe that'll be a build series next winter. But outside of that, we've also got Richter. Richter's a big company. They do a lot of skis. A lot of people ride them. They do some really cool freestyle skis. They've got their carbon ninja skis. They've got the whole line of skis. And then a few other companies, Rise, which from my understanding is kind of a couple guys broke off from Richter and started their own jet ski company called Rise. I might not be right about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Those are kind of the top 4 companies, I would say, and then you've also got a bunch of other companies out there. Like I said, Bun, they make a ski hole. There's I don't know. There's so many different holes out there. So, but freestyle stuff aside, that's kind of where you end up price point wise for a lot of these skis. If you're just looking to get into it, check out my previous video on what to look for when you're shopping for a jet ski. And really, right now is the prime time to start looking, because people are going to be posting them up for summer. you're going to be seeing summer pricing here pretty soon. Maybe you can find a deal pre-season that is going to be a lot more affordable than your summertime warm weather pricing. At least here in Washington, the pricing here for jet skis goes in waves. You know, summer's really high. Kind of end of summer, things start to get really cheap because people don't want to store them. So, you know, there's a way to think about how to get into a ski if you're really on a tight budget. But that's pretty much it for today's video. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little more information on what to look for skis, maybe what skis might fit your needs for a jet ski as a beginner, and just kind of go over everything, you know, kind of go over a few of the skis and give you guys a little more info, so hopefully you guys can make an informed decision and right now start shopping for a ski because summer's coming up and I'm itching to get back out on the water. So maybe we'll see you out there if you're a local, but if you are, hit me up on Instagram. I'd love to connect with you and ride. So before we go, I actually wanted to mention a few other skis that you might see out there when you're looking at vintage skis. There are a handful of other skis outside of just strictly stand-ups that you might look at it and you go, oh, that'd be kind of fun. I'm talking about your Kawasaki X2s. They're kind of a hybrid between a stand-up and a sit-down. They're kind of really fun for free riding, jumping waves. People ride them and surf all the time. People race them. They're a really cool ski. Usually you can get into a stock one pretty cheap. The stock ones are kind of slow. Another one that came from Yamaha, I believe. Yamaha. Wave Jammer. Wave jammers are cool. It is essentially, the best way I can describe it is a drift stand-up or a drift sit-down. Those things, they kind of look a little weird. They look like a stand-up jet ski, but they've got a neck that comes up and handlebars, and they kind of look like a bird almost. Like the handle kind of comes up and forward, and it's got a fixed steer. But those are really cool. You can take them, you can ride them, slide them, and the whole back end. I mean, sometimes I've got a buddy of mine who's got a high power one. I think it's 701 swap, and you can literally go full speed, and you can throw it sideways, and you can slide probably 30 yards just sideways or backwards. You can do 180s and jump it out of the water. It's a great time. Those are really cool, but they're not really stand-up skis. They're kind of their own thing. The other one you might see, kind of rarely see them, but is a Super Chicken. It is essentially a sit-down jet ski, had a baby with a side-by-side, and you had this monstrosity. A lot of the community calls them Super Chickens, but they are actually called the Kawasaki Sport Cruiser. I believe they came with a 650cc, maybe. Or it might have been a 550. I'm not actually sure what motor came in them. I've never owned one. I'd like to at some point. But really cool skis if you can find one cheap. I've never actually ridden one, but they look like fun, and I've been looking for one to pick up as a project. But they're substantially larger, so something to consider. But that's just a few little oddities I figured I'd throw out there because you guys will probably come across them if you're looking for your first ski. But that is going to be the end of today's video. I know this is a little bit different than what I would normally do, but I did want to kind of do a video response and hopefully give a little bit more information to the new guys out there that are just getting into the sport. And I did have my subscriber ask, so hopefully this is a little bit more information on what ski you might want to look for depending on the discipline you're getting into. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any requests or comments or anything you want to tell me, throw it in the comment section below. I read all of them. I respond to all of them. So please do it. It really helps me out as a creator, and I can help make sure that I'm getting the information you guys need out there. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.